Hello there, one and all. You know who I am, ETTemplar, Supreme Misfit, Professional Dipshit. Um, the title of this video is "If It Happens." So, this is what I think what happens if the worst happens and Donald Trump is assassinated. So, this leaves Vance, and if he loses, the first thing will be an increase in your taxes. There will be a higher influx of illegal aliens, criminals, probable terrorists. The next thing to happen will be targeted harassment of libertarians and right wingers over disinformation. Political personalities that don't step in line will be deemed enemies of the state. They will have their voices silenced, businesses shut down, and computers seized. Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and many more will be priority targets of censorship. Websites and forums outside their vision of politics will be fined and or shut down. This won't just stop there at politics. Your churches will also be targeted, along with your pastor, bishop, or other religious figure. After the silencing of these voices and personalities, next will be your Second Amendment bans, mandatory buybacks. The government might even have private ownership of silver and gold be illegal. And the way they'll do this is because they'll do it under guise of the BRICS nations because they're backing their currency by gold and silver. So they'll say you're a Russian agent, and they can put whatever reasoning they want in there. The American patriot will be steamrolled with no money to hire proper legal defense. The Department of Justice will roll up all domestic terrorists, in air quotes. Anyone outside the regime of the left will be the enemy. And America will fall, and your children and grandchildren will be raised in darkness, not knowing what liberty, freedom, or God is. So that's what I think will happen. There will be a total disillusionment of people in the United States, most the right. You will never see unity ever again. It will be just as terrible as an open wound than the American Civil War. You will have people who will have no fucks given about the current government regime. And the GOP, the Republican Party, I think would be finished because at this point, the government's already failed them. And at that point, the GOP and the Republicans aren't going to be recover. They're never ever going to regain that same muster. And with the federal government cracking down, the Republicans that aren't in line with the regime, the senators and congressmen that aren't in line with the Kamala regime or this new leftist form of democracy, um, they'll be forced to go along. And there will even be GOP Republicans that will collaborate with this new regime and government. And they'll collaborate with this government and they won't give a shit about their constituents. So, if it happens, I think it will be unreconcilable. And to the leftists and Democrats out there that salivate at this idea, just know that you'll never again have that same form of patriotism. And more than half the country will find ways to create reciprocity for this loss. There won't be a single patriot that will enlist, but who knows? Maybe nothing will happen. We witnessed the crap with COVID, right? And people just went along with that. People went along with the government telling them they couldn't go to church. So who's to really say? But one thing is for certain: if Trump is assassinated, again, I think it will be only dark times for America and a dark future. It will probably be something akin to the Spanish Civil War, where the other side will claim to be a democracy, a republic, but within their ranks would be anarchists and communists who would, of course, target Christians, target business people, or at least business people who are right of center. So you will see the absolute weaponization of the federal government, Department of Justice, the FBI, CIA on a level that will be unimaginable. And they'll strong arm local police, local law enforcement into going along with gun confiscation, mandatory buybacks, and the governors will be forced to give in to this new system of power. The feds will withdraw all federal funding to states that are sympathetic, and that will be a big enough threat for some of these states just to go along. And if it's one thing I have to say here is this back the blue shit, it is noble, but who's to say that these guys love their paycheck and the retirement that they're going to accrue over time? Are they really going to risk all that and all they've set aside over some other stranger's right to bear arms or freedom of speech, freedom of the press? Yeah, sure, there will probably be cops out there that would retire or throw in their badge and step away. But there's a good portion of the police and law enforcement that would go along with it. And when you look at other regimes in the past, whether it's Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, or these other, who was the first people to betray the people and the rights of other human beings? It was the public service, public sector, the police, the military. Now, the same thing with the military. There'd be a section of it that would be against the regime, sure. But then again, there'd be a large section of the military that would go along. Because in their vision, it's enemies, foreign and domestic. And what I'm seeing is there's tons of automatons within military, police, especially the FBI, Department of Justice. They will disguise their tyranny and oppression of the American patriot as justice and as law of the land. So that's one thing to consider. And of course, again, the liberals and leftists are salivating over the idea of a dead Trump, but that will be your guys' worst nightmare. Yeah, sure, you'll get your dream of him being gone, but in his place there will be a power vacuum. And the left, the Marxist, or whichever power steps up and comes to power at that point, there will be a power vacuum. And again, you will lose more than half of the country. And even if there's just like 1 to 5%, 1 to 5% of resistance is, I think they said somewhere, is that all you need to have an effective resistance. And you're looking at places like Appalachia, the Deep South, and other places where even if you have superior technology, it's going to be rough. And it's going to be an American nightmare. And it will not be fun. It will not be entertaining. And for the leftists, the Marxists, and the Democrats, it will be such a bittersweet victory for them because they will lose control. Any form of semblance of unity this country have or had would be thrown right out the fucking window. And a lot of people would give up on this country. And there's no one who can replace Trump. He's it for the GOP. Vance, I like the guy, but I don't see him. Those are some big shoes to fill. And Vance kind of has some of that neocon elitism in him. That's why I'm not really a fan of Vance. But either way you slice this pie, it's not going to be good. But if it does happen, I imagine terrible things coming. Here's another aspect too. The Democrats, the lefts, Marxist, whichever regime takes over, will also pack the courts. And they'll pack the courts with judges that are sympathetic to them. Yeah, sure, they'll do this stupid thing where they have, the interview for the chief justices or the Supreme Court judges. You know how they do that? I forgot what it's called. But they're going to do that just as like a show. like a show trial or a show interview, and they'll pack the courts with people sympathetic to them, and then from there it will be transgressions against the First Amendment, your freedom of speech, journalism, and your freedom of religion will be encroached upon, and with that, your Second Amendments will be eroded, and anyone right of center will be deemed enemies of the state, rebels, insurrectionists, and that's how it's going to go down. That's how they wish it would go down. But I think with a little bit of white pill here, I don't think it will happen because the ruling class, the elite, the people in Washington are too fucking greedy. A civil war or something, a civil disturbance on this level would absolutely ruin their profits, and they wouldn't be able to get it back. And it would be too destructive economically and for their wallets. So there's a little white pill there. I don't think it will happen because if it's one thing you can count on is politicians' greed and the elites in the New World Order's greed and love for money. They'll put that over political power and even regime. So that's just a weird video with my thoughts on it. I'm 90% sure it won't happen, but if it does, you will see some pretty heinous things happening. You will see tyranny. It'll happen quick, I think. So, with that, and in closing, vote in 2024 like your life depends on it. Again, vote Trump, because if you want more of the same, if you want less money in your pocket, Kamala Harris can oblige you with that. Kamala Harris is already looking at raising the corporate tax. She's looking at raising the taxes for everyone. And she's looking at more funding of Ukraine and more foreign wars, which is just going to create more inflation upon the American people. The cost of everything, if you thought the cost of eggs and everything now was bad, just wait till Kamala Harris and Walz get in. And especially if those price control gets in, it's going to get bananas. It's going to get batshit crazy. So unless if you're looking for that, unless if you're looking to struggle more, then by all means vote Kamala or Harrison Walz. And at that point, even after hearing this or even seeing the blind truth that's before you, it's not you're not going to change your mind. You're a hopeless zealot, and I don't know. It's like I said before, the plane's crashing, but the difference in captain of the plane will make a difference whether the plane nosedives or whether the plane crash lands and glides in. I'm still not certain that America has a chance of survival even with Trump, in my humble opinion, because the damage has already been done. The cancer that's already metastasized in this country has already, again, metastasized and spread. So I don't know. Who knows? But anyways, links in the description. And leave a comment, leave a like, dislike, share your thoughts below. I'll see you next time. Take it easy. God bless. Stay happy, stay healthy, and prepare. Because you never know.